A very good morning to you, dear students. I welcome you to your final civics class, chapter 6, Bureaucracy. Now, in the previous chapter, whom did we learn about? We learnt about ministers, cabinet ministers, chief minister, members of legislative assembly, which is MLA, or members of legislative council, which are MLC. We learnt about all this previously, right? Now all these ministers have some people under them to do their work and carry out their orders. Who are they? They are the secretaries, also known as the bureaucrats, and their work is called bureaucracy. Now in this chapter we will learn about them and their work. Who are they? Which are the services? They are basically called the civil services. Under civil services we have three things, which is All India Services, Union or Central Service, and State Civil Services. You all must have heard of IAS officers, IFS officers, and IPS officers, right? They all come under All India Services. Then many of you must have heard of UPSC exams, very big exam, which is called the Union Public Service Commission, and the Indian Revenue Service. They come under Union or Central Service. And lastly there is the State Civil Services, which is all states, each individual states have their own exams. Like for example, Maharashtra has MPSC exam. So like this we are going to learn about all this in this chapter. It's a very interesting chapter. Please listen carefully. Today we will get into the explanation very quickly. It's a very interesting lesson and very interesting explanation. Please watch, students, the explanation and pay attention. Thank you.
So you will notice in the above on the left hand side box there are some posts that are mentioned. For example, District Collector orders curfew. The Municipal Commissioner presents the budget. The Finance Secretary resigns. And the Divisional Commissioner will review the revenue collection. Okay, now you must be wondering, who are all these people? Like for example, the District Collector, the Municipal Commissioner, the Finance Secretary, the Divisional Commissioner. Who are all these people? So basically these are civil servants. They are known as civil servants of the country. And they do the administrative work. They form a part of the administrative system of our government. So let us try to understand what is their role and what is their importance in our country through the lesson Bureaucracy. In the earlier chapter, we have learned about the Union Executive, where the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers make proposals for new laws, and they also decide upon the policies. Now basically, what is bureaucracy? So bureaucracy is the administrative system which works under the Union Executive and has the responsibility of actual implementation of the government's policy. So in this chapter, we will try to understand the importance of bureaucracy. Now when we talk about any country, okay, what are the two main fundamental functions of the government of any country? Okay, so the first fundamental function that the government needs to carry of any country is to defend the country from external aggression and internal threats. Okay, which means that to secure the country from external aggression, means from external invasion or a war or a sudden surprise attack, even for that matter to protect the country from internal threats. Internal threats means we know that as a country, as India is a country of diverse religion, culture, etc., we know that there are so many problems that can arise between people of different religion, caste, even sometimes between political parties. Okay, so to save the country from internal threats, okay, is also one of the main fundamental function that the government has to carry. The second fundamental function that the government has to carry is to provide various services to citizens and ease their daily lives, which enable them to develop themselves and the society. Means for our day-to-day life, we require so many services. Okay, the service of being provided of clean water for drinking, cooking, washing, etc. We require roads to travel to our destinations, then public transport system, electricity. Okay, all these services are required for our day-to-day lives. And by giving these services, by providing these services to the citizens of the country, the government helps to build and develop and make the government strong themselves, and also make the society united, strong and independent. So therefore, these are the two main fundamental functions that the government carries for the betterment of the society. Now when we talk about the first function, okay, the first function is to defend the country from external aggression and internal threats. So when we talk about the first function, it is basically to ensure security of this country. And this function is mainly carried out by the service called the armed forces. I am sure you have heard about the armed forces. We have the military, okay, we have the navy, we have the air force. These are all our armed forces. So the role of internal security is carried out as aid to civil authority. And for the second function, an administrative system is developed, and we call it as the civil services. So the system of civil servants is known as bureaucracy. So in a parliamentary system or parliamentary democracy, the representatives elected by the people and the ministers have the responsibility of administration. So the functions of government are discharged by various departments. Okay, we have departments like the education department, finance department, health department, the agricultural department, etc. Okay, so the functions of the government are discharged by these various departments, and every department has a minister who is the political head of that particular department. And as a representative of people, the minister has to carry out the work of the department by giving priority to public welfare. So the minister may not be an expert in a particular subject, but he or she is conscious of broad public interest. Okay, means that once the minister is elected, okay, or is chosen to be the minister of that particular department, he may not be an expert in that particular department, but as a minister he is aware consciously that he has to work or she has to work towards the welfare of the society. Okay, so broadly the minister has to take important decisions which relates to public interest. Okay, keeping in mind the public interest. So the secretary of the department gives expert advice to the ministers. Okay, so for every department there is a minister, and the minister takes advice from the secretary. Okay, and the secretary is able to give expert advice to the minister to carry out the function of doing work for the welfare of the people. The secretaries are appointed, these secretaries are appointed from the civil service. So the aspirations of people and administrative expertise are therefore then put in harmony in a parliamentary system. Okay, so that which basically means that people who want to help in the development of the society, and also at the same time people who are good at administrative work and are expert in that particular subject, therefore are able to help for the welfare of the society, and thus everybody works in harmony in the parliamentary system. Now there are some characteristics of bureaucracy. So let us try to understand what are these characteristics, important characteristics of bureaucracy. The first characteristic being permanent mechanism, second political neutrality, and third is anonymity. Now let us understand each of these in detail. So permanent mechanism, from the word itself you can understand that that means bureaucracy is permanent. Okay, now there are certain functions like collection of taxes, then protection of the environment, then the maintenance of law and order. Okay, there are some of these functions or important tasks that have to be consistently carried out by the bureaucracy, and therefore it is only possible to carry out these important tasks when the bureaucracy is permanent. Therefore the bureaucracy is permanent, it is not dissolved. Okay, like for example the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers can change after every elections. Okay, but the bureaucracy on the other hand, which is under their control, does not get changed. It remains permanent, it is constant. Okay, so it is a permanent mechanism, that means it is permanent in nature. Now the second one is political neutrality. Here it means that the bureaucracy is politically neutral. Okay, which means that irrespective of whichever political party is in power, okay, or whichever political party is the government, the bureaucracy is supposed to carry out its functions as efficiently as they would otherwise. Okay, so they have to be politically neutral. They have to implement their policies or decisions with the same efficiency and commitment. Now in this regard, the civil servants are expected to abstain themselves from taking any political stand or act according to their political view. Okay, so they are not supposed to think of working for the political party which is in power, but instead have to work for the welfare of the people. They have to be politically neutral. They cannot be supporting one party, not supporting another political party. Okay, so the civil servants should abstain. Abstain means should refrain from. Abstain from taking a political stand or act according to their political views. Now in case if a political party fails to win elections and another it has to leave the government, and another party that wins election comes to power, the new government can make some changes in policies, okay, of the earlier government. And in such scenario, the bureaucracy has to still accept those policies and cannot complain about those policies, trying to compare that the earlier government made these policies and carried out these policies, implementation of these policies in this manner, and you are doing it in this manner. They cannot compare and put up their political view, but instead they are expected to remain neutral and discharge their duties of whatever is being told to them to do. Okay, so in such cases, the bureaucracy is expected to remain neutral while discharging its duties. So bureaucracy is supposed to be politically neutral. And the last characteristic is anonymity. Anonymity means that anonymity basically, if you talk in the real terms, means nobody knows, anonymous. Okay. Here it basically means that a civil service should not be held responsible directly for any kind of success or failure of policies. It is basically the minister who is responsible for the efficient and smooth functioning of the concerned departments. Okay, so it is the minister who as the head of that department is accountable for any inefficiency. The civil servants are doing their work, and in case if while implementing certain policies, so those policies fail in the long run, nobody can point out to the bureaucracy, but instead it is the minister. For example, if you have education minister, okay, and there is some policy that has been made and the implementation of the policy fails in the education department, so the minister of the education department can be held responsible, but not the civil servants. So civil servants are never publicly criticized, and the parliament holds the minister responsible for any kind of malpractices, because it is the minister who is supposed to see that there is a cooperation between his ministers, secretaries, okay, and the department of which he is head, and see that there is a smooth functioning in carrying out the policies enforced by the government. Okay, so the parliament will hold the minister responsible for any kind of malpractices in that particular department. Okay, and in such cases the minister bears the responsibility and protects the bureaucracy. Okay, so these are the important characteristics of bureaucracy. Let us now understand what is the significance of Indian bureaucracy. Okay, now the structure of the Indian bureaucracy is quite large and it is complex, and several important reforms were introduced during the post-independence period, and the bureaucracy has been successful in implementing certain policies that were made during that time effectively and efficiently. And therefore today we can see that many positive social changes have reached to the common people of our country. So these changes have been brought by the Indian bureaucracy by implementing the policies made by the government. So bureaucracy basically gives stability to political system. Now in day-to-day life there are various needs of people. Okay, so water supply, then public cleanliness, transport, electricity, health, agricultural reforms, prevention of pollution, and many other such services are everyday needs of the people of the country, and they need to be provided consistently, that means continuously, to the people. Okay, so the bureaucracy makes efforts to provide these different services to the people, so that it brings stability in the day-to-day life of the people. Secondly, the bureaucracy is also, we need to understand that bureaucracy also plays an important part in the social transformation of the society. Okay, it is an instrument of social transformation. So the laws which are enacted by the government for empowerment of women, child security, then certain policies and plans for the marginalized sections, they all are implemented by the bureaucracy. So social change is brought about when these these policies are implemented for such people, okay, the backward people, women, and each of them is satisfied when such policies are provided to them. Okay, so they bring the bureaucracy is an important instrument of social transformation. And lastly, bureaucracy also plays an important role in democratization of society. Marginalized sections of society have been brought into mainstream by implementing the reservation policy. We are aware of our history of our country. Okay, we know that the backward class were considered to be untouchables and were not given the same opportunities as the other upper caste. Okay, so therefore we have the reservation system in which the marginalized sections of the society are able to come forward and are given the same kind of opportunities in political or the political stream as well as the government opportunities. So their participation has increased in the process of decision making, in correct decision making, and therefore democratization of society takes place, and it not only requires progressive laws and policies, but it also requires effective participation of bureaucracy. Okay, so when people of the marginalized section are involved in the governments or making the decisions, law making decisions, then automatically it helps for the upliftment of such societies. So in this case, the bureaucracy needs to effectively participate and help in the development of the society. Now let us see what are the types of civil services. So there are three main types of civil services: the All India services, then the Union or Central services, and the State civil services. The All India services, we have the Indian Administrative Service, that is the IAS, then the Indian Police Service, the IPS, and the Indian Forest Service, that is IFS. In the Union or Central services, we have the Indian Foreign Service, then the Indian Revenue Service, etc. In the State civil services, these come under the state government. Okay, so they basically include the Deputy District Collector, the Block Development Officer, Tehsildar, that is the Executive Magistrate, etc. And all these are recruited through competitive examinations which are held at the state level. Okay, you will learn about all of these services in detail in your next standard. So the Indian Constitution has established autonomous institutions. Autonomous means freedom to govern itself, like the public service commissions, to ensure that the civil servants are selected on the basis of criteria of merit and efficiency. So the Union Public Service Commission, that is UPSC, conducts examinations for recruitment and appointment of candidates for all India services and the central services, whereas the Maharashtra Public Service Commission, that is MPSC, selects candidates through competitive examinations and recommends them to government to be recruited in the state administration. Now, in order to provide opportunities to all sections of the society, And to enter in the bureaucracy and the civil services, there is a provision of reservations for the scheduled caste, then scheduled tribes, women, other backward class, and specifically abled. And these provisions ensure that the weaker sections of the society are not left out but are part of the civil services, so there is no social inequality. So the efficiency of a particular government department depends upon the interrelationship between the minister, then the department secretaries and the deputy secretaries. The decision relating to the department are made by the concerned minister, but the necessary information to make such decisions is given by the civil servants. The civil servants, that is the bureaucracy, has complete control over this information, and it is the civil servant who knows the financial provisions for a particular scheme or plan. So the civil servants are aware of the history of that success and the failure of policies. So the civil servants play a very important role in carrying out the implementation of any plan or policies. Okay, so therefore the ministers are dependent upon the civil servants for the implementation or for the success or failure of many of the plans and policies that may be made. Okay, so if the minister has to see towards the success of his plans or the policies, then he has to see that he maintains a good relationship with his civil servants. Okay, he has to maintain a good dialogue with civil servants and also simultaneously develop mutual trust and transparency. Transparency means has to be very clear of what the plans are, how it is going to be implemented, and this will help the entire departments or all the departments. Okay, so girls, with this we complete the lesson bureaucracy. I hope you have understood this lesson. It's quite an interesting and also a short and important lesson in civics. And again, I am telling you that this lesson is for your final exam.